Good afternoon, all, and thank you for attending this session. This pitch will deal with S3EEM, which stands for Scope 3 Emissions Estimation Model. As the word says, is a flexible, user-friendly tool for carbon footprint assessment of companies acting in the oil and gas industry. Few words about me. I'm Alex Giorgini. I am the co-founder and managing director of Eartha. I have a background in energy engineering, and I've gained expertise and know-how in environmental sustainability assessment. This is the basis of Eartha project, basically. Few words also about the company, about Eartha. Eartha is an innovative consultancy company working in the field of environmental sustainability analysis, and it is specifically referred to oil and gas industry because basically we have gained experience in this industry, we have an heritage in this industry, and we want to make available these kind of services for oil and gas. What we offer is simple, flexible solutions to allow clients in identifying strategies for reducing the environmental impact and helping them to show the added value of products, services, and their companies as a whole. Today, we will speak about a specific topic in sustainability, which is carbon footprint of organizations / GHG emissions inventory. What is it? Basically, it is the calculation of the overall emissions associated to company activities and processes, not just looking at the company itself, the company boundaries itself, but also looking at upstream and downstream throughout the supply chain of the company on a defined period, which typically is 1 year. So this is what we are talking about. Why carrying out this kind of activity? I will say we have two different reasons. One is because companies can benefit from this activity, from this going through this experience. Basically, they can prioritize actions, meaning that they can understand how they have high emissions so that they can optimize their processes, activities. They can, if you don't measure something, you can't understand, you can set targets and objectives on the reduction. So the first thing is to measure, and based on these measurements to set targets. And as I said at the beginning, you can overall optimize the activities of the company towards the environment, so towards the environmental impact. But there's also another point to consider, which is which is strictly related to the regulatory framework, because since 2023, or let's say in the past few years, in Europe we have enforced some directives that are defining as mandatory the fact that more and more companies have to carry out these kind of activities. So the famous CSRD directive, which is basically defining that more and more companies need to go through sustainability reporting activities, which calls for GHG emissions inventory. So these are basically the two underlying motivations on carrying out this kind of activity. Briefly, how the activity is carried out. First of all, we need to define the boundaries of this inventory activity. And as I said at the beginning, we consider organizational boundaries, so strictly the boundaries of the company, but also operational boundaries of companies. So looking of all the processes that lies upstream and downstream the supply chain of the company. The emissions are then classified into 3 scopes. Scope 1 is related to direct emissions from sources that are directly owned or controlled by the company, for example, the combustion of fuels, vehicle use, and so on. Scope 2, indirect emissions from the fact that a company purchases energy in order to run its operations, so electricity and steam, heat, cooling, and so on. And most important, Scope 3, but also the most difficult one, because these are indirect emissions coming from sources that lies outside the company. And this is why they are the trickiest source to be traced and to be assessed. So as I said at the beginning, all the processes lying upstream and downstream with respect to the company. This is a scheme which is representing what I've said at the beginning. So you can see organizational boundary, Scope 1, Scope 2, and operational boundary, which enlarge basically the boundary of the activity to also Scope 3 emissions. How is carried out? Basically, the main part, the main step allowing for this activity is data collection, which is the most difficult one, because data need to be retrieved with a certain quality level, the highest possible, of course, in order to reduce the uncertainty of the analysis. And at the end, the results of the calculation are grouped into categories and 3 scopes, as I said at the beginning. This activity is not carried out, let's say, without any reference, but we have relevant standards which are regulating this kind of activity, and the main one are the so-called GHG protocol and ISO 14064. So summarizing, which are the major issues in going through this activity for companies? Scope 3 is typically the, let's say, the peak in front of which company stop the activity, because they are afraid, basically, in facing this huge mountain, because the data collection process is complex, is time-consuming. Most of the time, data are not, how to say, readily available in the company. They need to be retrieved. You need, how to say, procedures in order to get this data. And typically the result is that company fails in going through the assessment process, and maybe they calculate Scope 1, Scope 2, but they do not touch typically Scope 3 emissions, or they have a partial approach to these kind of emissions. And this is an issue because, as I said at the beginning, we have now a regulatory framework which is calling for these activities, let's say, completed and carried out in the most, how to say, comprehensive way as possible. This is where it comes, the tool that I've introduced at the beginning. We have developed this activity in collaboration with the VALVEcampus Association, and the tool will be made available to the companies associated to VALVEcampus itself. So basically the principle is that the tool is an advanced Excel tool which collects all the input data, and it carries out in a smart and simple way, user-friendly way, the calculation, displaying all the results grouped in the relevant categories and scopes. Why the tool is special? First of all, the tool is aligned with relevant standards. So it is aligned with the most common standard for doing this activity, GHG protocol. It is felt as user-friendly by the user because basically the user goes through the filling out of a survey. So it's somehow similar to answering some questions about your company, not strange questions regarding scope 1, 2, 3 different categories. Maybe I'll ask you how many trips your employee will take for which distance or on which vehicles and so on. This is the kind of questions that are asked. There is the possibility to have like optional questions, and in a case the user is able to answer, the calculation accuracy uncertainty is decreased. The most important thing is that we've taken care of specific, let's say, modeling approach, meaning that the tool relies extensively on a so-called economic approach, meaning that to the user, we do not ask typically physical quantities like kilograms, meters, or kilometers, and so on, but we ask about spend, let's say. We ask about money. And basically, when you come to money, companies cannot say, I don't have this kind of data, because money-based data are readily available in the company. Maybe kilometers, maybe meters, kilograms, it's more difficult, but not for the money. And this is the powerful feature of this tool, which is managed by the use of so-called spend-based emission factors, meaning that we are able to traduce directly euros or currency, whatever, into CO2 equivalent, which is the measure of carbon footprint. Yeah, this is just summarizing what I said about the economic approach, which is really the powerful thing about this tool, and it was the principle on which we have developed it, basically, to make it easier, to make it flexible for the user, and allowing companies to overcome this big mountain they need to face. So like smoothing the mountain and making it an hill which is more manageable for the company. And the tool will be released soon to the associated companies. And if you would like to have more information about Eartha, about the services, if you want to start a journey in sustainability with your company, you can contact us at this email address, or you can stop by Hall B booth 136 for more information, for more discussions. Thank you for your attention.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, so you collect data via Excel. How do you model data? I mean, going from money to CO2, what is your database? What are you using?
We use different database. They are international database derived, for example, from national associations like IPA from US, or like input-output analysis. I mean, there are techniques available that allow you to define spend-based emission factors from so-called input-output tables. Don't know if you know about this. And So it's like so-called environmentally extended input-output analysis. That's the principle behind emission factors.
Are you disclosing the databases that you are referring to?
Not completely, meaning that if data are directly published by, as I told you, EPA, for example, these are disclosed in the references, in the supporting documentation for the model. Otherwise, in the case we had to evaluate emission factors applying EEO, for example, in that case, you don't really have a real reference because they are evaluated applying a methodology. So they are like an IP of Eartha, let's say. Okay. Don't know if it is clear or not.
Okay, and the second question is, so you say that, of course, you need to demonstrate that you are reducing your CO2 emissions.
Yeah.
How can you evaluate the reduced impacts if you start from an economic input-output approach? I mean, if you are implementing activities that are aimed to reduce your CO2 emissions, how can you demonstrate that these are effective if you are just measuring economic data? So basically, if you purchase more or you sell more, you emit more in this kind of a model.
Yeah.
You show
Understood.
that you are emitting more.
During the presentation, I've stressed a lot the spend-based approach because this was basically one of the main targets of the tool development, but I will define the tool as a balanced mix between physical quantities approach and spend-based approach. Basically, spend-based approach kicks in that kind of categories where from our experience we have seen that companies have major issues, basically, in order to smooth out the process. But I don't want to say that, I'm not asking for spend-based, the spend related to, I don't know, electric energy purchased by the company. I know that companies can deliver that data in the form of energy, so kilowatt hour or whatsoever. So this means that you will have a balanced mix between spend-based and physical-based. And I tell you more, on specific categories, the user has the flexibility to choose between physical quantities if they have better, higher quality of the modeling, or if they really don't have that kind of data, they can rely on economics. So it is not a fully economic. Economic kicks in where, let's say, the user is in troubles, basically. That's the point. So I will say that a company, of course, is an estimation tool, is not a detailed assessment tool with all the minor details, but considering that many companies stops before, even before getting to a number, this could be a tool through which they can easily initiate that kind of process. And I believe that the reduction trend can be, let's say, accurately enough modeled through the tool because, as I said, is a mix at the end of physical and economic. Thank you.